Hello, and welcome to our digital exhibition solution for the photography course, held in AltSpace.
Problem space. The problems we face and intend to overcome are creating a digital solution to a physical exhibition due to the current situation that we are in. How to showcase students' work safely and efficiently, facilitating social interactions as we don't want to lose the feeling that comes with visiting a physical exhibition, and retaining engagement with industry, allowing for professional opportunities and collaborations.
The demo. We will now take you into our live demonstration walking around the space. And now, on with the lobby. We wanted to ensure that the social area was very appealing. We'll come back to this very shortly, but first we want to go to the start and we'll talk you through the whole user experience. Now, this room hasn't been decorated yet, and this would be something which we improve in our next edition. But first, we wanted to explore the user experience design which we've created here, and this just talks you through the basics and allows even the most basic of users to understand and work their way around the space. So let's move forward. So, the work. As you can see, the work is nicely laid out, very organised. Now, all the images may look the same now, but in a different variation, this would change. We know not all students' work and images are the same size. So, as you can see, we've also tried to include some 3D work which would take place, but this would be something we did in another variation. Now, how you would view a student's work. A student gets a little taster section of an image with their name, project title and description, and a QR code to link to the client's work, or for clients to find their work and anybody else. They would simply scan this on their screen on the computer using their phone. Now, this teleporter here will take you to the student which you want to view.
So once we come through this portal from the main room, we enter into photographic memory. So my aim for this space was to encapsulate memories. So inspired by a previous student on the course, I wanted to use the power of virtual reality and AltSpace in particular to bring hers and similar work to life. So the space uses physical objects, sound and the sky to enhance the photographs framed on the wall. The space is similar to a student exhibition with subtle changes. Most users of this technology will be new to it, so it's important to provide an experience that they are comfortable with. So household items such as lamps and plants help to create a homely feel, as memories are a personal thing. So as the user enters the space, they are greeted with beach sounds. The sound is spatialised, which means that once the user exits the room, the sound will disappear. There are 2 diaries, which could be filled with written memories. So by showing the many ways a memory can be captured, it enhances the photography, which is the main attraction. So the sky above represents a sunny day at the beach, which places the users there with the photographer.
In using the portal, we come to one of the other personal spaces which could be used for students, and I've sort of designed this one to accommodate whatever the student needs and to experiment with what we can use in the space. So as you can see, there's a variety of 2D based work and photography based work on the walls. Where this portal is, there's a lot of blank space which I was initially using to have like biographies and text where the students can talk about the work, but I couldn't get that to render properly in AltSpace, so it's still blank for now. But yeah, there's a variety of 2D work and photos, all lit with beam lighting, which I tried to keep quite soft and contemporary. As you can see, some photos are quite dark, but this is quite easy to change in Unity. In the middle, you can see sort of plinth with boxes on them. Once again, these in Unity are transparent boxes, which work could be used to mount up inside, which means students can have 3D work in the space as well as 2D work. So if you follow me upstairs, the idea of this space is to be used as a main space where students can mount up final pieces. Like here is a section looking specifically at music-related photography. So yeah, as I said, this will be used as sort of the main space. And if you follow me into the red room, which I sort of like to think of as the development room, this is a space where I feel like students can include photos that might not be final pieces, but sort of lend themselves to the development of the project and the journey that the students have been on. So whereas in a physical exhibition we might be confined by space and limited in how we can tell the story of our project, as you can see, in a digital space we don't have those confines, and we can use a room like this for a student to give more background on their projects and themselves. We could also, split the rooms up. A student could use one room, just the main room or just the red room. That's completely up to them and what their project needs. And in here we also have a media player where a student could play a YouTube video or a show reel or just a slideshow of images. But as I said, I've just tried to create a space that sort of accommodates all the needs that a student might have, and one that we can just edit as and when to the student's preferences. So yeah, to get back to the main space, all we do is go back down to the teleporter, hop in it, and we'll be taken back to the shared space.
So, on return to the space, you now have the feel that these are merely to draw people in, and the spaces themselves are the true experiences that the students create in their final exhibitions. Now, as you can see across this space, there's a lot of atmosphere and mood lighting, and the sky, the design of the space is made to be welcoming, but also it keeps this social interaction in mind. It makes people want to chat and discuss and explore, really. This space up here is purely designed simply for social, and we've even got our presentation section over here where you can have a little welcome opening area, and you can explain the space and explain the situation to a large number of people in one area, just like you would in an exhibition. Now the bar is to draw people into another social area and another conversation. Makes it that little bit more realistic with the glasses of champagne and the beers. And what good exhibition doesn't have champagne and beers? Now, let's head back to the presentation and look into our idea in more depth.
So, at the start of the semester, we assigned team roles. The team roles were as follows. So, Will was on 3D development, Ben was on visual identity, I was on VR development, Charlotte was on marketing, and Devon was on client communication. So, after exploring software and struggling to adapt, we decided as a team to work together and explore different aspects of 3D development together. To do this, we decided to collaborate and create a 3D space each and combine our skills so we all can explore as much as possible. Exploring all of the job roles together as a team was important for our own individual exploration.
Software. When we initially proposed our solution, we had two different options of software to use, A-Frame and AltSpace. We have decided on using AltSpace. But to do this, we also needed to use a number of other software. These include Blender, Unity and AltSpace.
So Blender was the software where our designs were born. Its long list of creative features enabled seamless design of our virtual spaces. It is a well-known software that has countless tutorials for beginner students to access. The software itself was simple to use to create 3D objects compared to other softwares such as Unity. It's free, which means it's accessible, texturing on it is simple to do, and it enables file integration with Unity with an FBX file.
This links us into the second piece of software that we'll be using called Unity, which essentially allows us to take 3D models from Blender and process them in a way that we can put them into our platform AltSpace. And what's good about Unity is it's easy to model images as materials, so a student importing their photographs and mounting them up will be really straightforward. It's got detailed lighting editor, as you can see around our spaces. It's really simple to create lighting, edit the colour, the diffusion, the intensity, and create the mood in a space that you want. right in Unity. It also integrates an Altspace World Builder tool, essentially allowing you to build your Blender file in a way that's accessible to Altspace as quickly and as easily as possible. So rather than you changing your export settings 100 times, it'll just do it for you. And essentially what's good about this is Unity bridges the gap efficiently between Blender and Altspace.
Now moving on to Altspace, which has really allowed us to bring our project to life, and it gives us the capabilities to create a real event and to bring this alive. So it's multi-platform. This can be used in VR, virtual reality headsets, most of them, and it works extremely well. The quality is very good and it's very intuitive. You can interact a lot more and it feels like you're really in the space. But you can also use it on laptops and computers, which still runs at a very high quality. Now, social interactions. So you can use chat, you can use voice. These two features are a key part of our project, and Altspace has really allowed us to do this. So, character personalization. Now, this builds empathy with the user. This allows us to communicate and, to really feel together. Now, the simple user interface, anybody can use it, even the most basic of users, even the most, people that don't tend to use computers too much can learn this very simply. So, large event hosting capabilities, like I previously mentioned, we can host very, very large events. Now, you can multiply these spaces if you are going to host it to the hundreds or the thousands, but if not, you can still have close-knit communities come on here and communicate freely. And finally, undiscovered potential. Now, this has not been used for this purpose before, and Altspace is all new, and it's really something that would be valuable to tap into, and it would be a great way to showcase photography students' work. Now, looking at the specific features. So, we've used teleporters which allow us to connect the user's an insight of the user's work to their full experiences, which can be created by them, just like they would in the real spaces. Music boxes. This allows us to add atmosphere and create a real mood in the scene, but also to convey the photography students' meaning behind their work. And finally, the media player. This allows you to present, play video, and even show large masses of work using a video player as a presentation. Moving on.
So this takes us into a user-centered approach and how we've looked at this project from the user's perspective. And the first way we've done that is through the user journey and how we've designed and integrated our 3 different spaces with the user in mind. So their journey takes us from the welcome, where you've already been and seen the tutorial, into the main room where we're currently based, where the viewers can go and look at a variety of work and choose which student they would like to look at in more detail. Then, so from the main room, they can go into a student room where they'll view one student's projects and all of their work in one space. From which point, they can either go back to the main room or through into the next student room. Both will have their own buttons. And essentially, this creates a cyclical routine whereby the viewer will either be in a loop of going from the main room to a student room back and forth, or just from one student room to another. Either way, it ties it all together very nicely and means that the user can just move through the space freely using teleporters as a good means to get from one place to another. So how can you integrate this as the institution? So we've thought of a few ways that we think you could integrate this with students as a final year showcase project. And some of the options that we've come up with, firstly, is a variety of templates. So as we've done, we've created a couple of different iterations of a personal space, and you could offer these to students as templates, and they could choose which one works for them based on the parameters of their work. If they need more 3D space, they can choose something that lends itself to 3D. If they just need 2D space with a media player, they have something for that. So they can choose the template that suits them and fill the content in it themselves. Which leads us into option 2, lessons. We can teach students to use these templates and to model materials and images in Unity so that they can take the template and build the space themselves the way they see fit, the way they want to portray their work. And another option is cross-course collaboration. In our first year, we work with animation students on a project, and you could work with a 3D modelling course to create these templates or these spaces that students can fill their work in, and that could be a really great way to integrate different courses. And lastly, dependent on the accessibility of it for university, we could use 3D scanners to scan a physical space or a physical thing that's been designed by the student, a physical model, and then take that into Blender, export it to Unity, and then into Altspace. So by using one of these options, or more than likely more than one of these options together, hopefully you can integrate what we've got going on in Altspace. So then to take you into some design decisions, firstly we'll look at branding. As you can see from the background of this presentation and the banner that you can see in the space itself, we've gone for a colour scheme derived from a sunset using oranges, blues, and oranges, pinks, and reds. Because what photographer hasn't been inspired by a sunset, and what photographer doesn't love a sunset? We've kept the typography really simple, as we don't want to take away from the work that is going to be displayed in here. And as for the font, we've gone for something just quite clean and squared. The squared idea came from sort of Polaroids and just the history of photography.
For the research, we decided to look at past shows that have already been happened. So in our last presentation, one of the main pieces of feedback that we received was that we didn't take into account that the students could be producing other mediums and not just images. So to improve our knowledge of the subject, we researched past shows so that we could gain a better understanding of the content needed to plan for. The images shown here are work produced that we found from the 2019 exhibition.
Spatial designs. So now we're quickly going to look at the spaces that we've designed, but more importantly, we're going to look at how we'd like to improve them. So, firstly, looking at the lobby design. So, the lobby is very good, but it's not all there. It can be improved in quality, but more importantly, there's a lot of tweaks for user experience which we would like to improve, such as the entrance room. It needs a bit more design in it. It needs to feel a bit more welcoming. Also, we'd like to integrate, we need to fix a few lights, but we'd also like to integrate sound to give this real atmosphere and, to really build empathy with the user. Other than that, it's very minor tweaks to images size, and that's about it. We could also bring in more things.
Yeah, so to lead on to the second room, which I've called the processing room, derived from the red room. Some of the changes that I want to make in here, as I mentioned in the demonstration, you can see in the screenshot, the font in the Unity project is transparent or mounted on the wall, but in Altspace I haven't been able to get it to work like that so far. So this is something I want to try and integrate, as it lets students use the space as more of an exhibition space than a showcase. Lets them play around with typography and give more background to their projects. I also think that the space above these lights could be used for media players or for more content, but that's up to the students how they want to fill that space.
So the amendments I would make to my photographic memories space are to create more sounds that relate to individual types of work, so not just covering 4 of them. It can cover individual ones. So the speakers would have to be smaller, and each piece of work would have to be spaced out further. I would also integrate furniture and objects that relate directly to the photographs themselves, such as sand or a park bench that you would typically see at the seaside. I would also look at adding more detailed textures to the walls, to something more relatable to the photographs themselves, rather than a traditional white exhibition wall, such as brick walls with arcade signage to represent the arcades at a seaside town. But there are many possibilities with this space that students could personalise to fit their individual needs.
Finally, we'd like to thank you for listening, and we'd love any questions.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.